Let me tell you something. Your biggest enemy is not your boss. It's not your bank account. It's not your past. It's you, the untrained, undisciplined, emotionally reactive version of you. That's the one that keeps losing. That's the one that keeps sabotaging the calling on your life. You're not in a battle with your circumstances. You're not in a battle with the haters. You're not in a battle with the system. This is you versus you. Every day you wake up to a fight, not the world with your lower self. The you that wants to quit. The you that overthinks. The you that needs validation. The you that's so emotionally tied to the past that you can't see the future. That version of you has to die. You've been letting your feelings run the show. You've been led by moods instead of mission. And here's the truth. Your feelings are not facts. They're not truth. They're not destiny. They're just signals. And if you let them lead, they will drive you into a ditch. You want power? You want elevation? Then you need detachment. We're talking about the kind of emotional and spiritual detachment that comes when you are so locked in on your purpose. Nothing outside of you can move you. You don't flinch when they doubt you. You don't fold when they walk away. You don't break when you lose. Why? Because you know who you are and what you were born to do. Too many of you are tied up, tied to people who don't deserve your energy, tied to outcomes that were never promised, tied to emotions that rise and fall like the wind. You've become a puppet to your own inner chaos. That's not strength. That's slavery. You think detachment is weakness? No, that's real strength. When you can look at the storm and say, I will not be moved. When you can lose it all and still keep moving like nothing happened, that's power, that's purpose, that's mastery. Some of you are losing because you're too attached. You're too attached to how it feels. You're too attached to who claps. You're too attached to the timeline. Let me tell you, God doesn't operate on your timeline. Purpose doesn't bend to your preference. Growth doesn't care about your comfort. This ain't about what you feel like doing. This is about what you were born to do. Every level you go up, you're going to have to leave some things behind. That includes feelings. That includes ego. That includes needing to be understood. You're wasting too much energy trying to prove something to people who don't even have the power to promote you. You're running a divine race and letting flesh and blood critics slow you down. Hear me, the devil doesn't even need to destroy you if he can distract you. And the most effective way to distract a person is through emotional chaos. You're so wrapped up in what they said, what they did, how you feel, that you can't hear the voice of God anymore. You've replaced revelation with reaction. This journey is going to cost you. It's going to cost you your comfort, your approval, your excuses. You don't need closure. You don't need to be liked. You need to grow. You need to evolve. You need to finish what you started. The warrior version of you is not reactive. The healed version of you doesn't chase validation. The elevated version of you doesn't explain purpose to people still living in survival mode. You don't owe anyone access to a level they haven't prepared for. You want to win this war? Then stop looking outside. The enemy is within. Defeat him and everything else will fall into place. This is you versus you. Only one of you makes it out. One leads to destiny. The other leads to destruction. So decide, are you going to keep folding under pressure or are you going to rise in purpose? Are you going to keep letting emotions call the shots or are you going to train your soul to respond from truth? This is your time, but your time doesn't mean anything if you aren't ready. And you won't be ready until you get detached from the noise, the fear, the pain, the excuses, and get anchored in the truth. And the truth is this. You were born to win, but only the version of you that's disciplined, detached, and devoted to the mission will make it. It's you versus you. Make sure the right version of you shows up every single day. Your greatest opponent isn't the world outside. It's the version of you that keeps showing up with fear, doubt, hesitation, excuses, and comfort-seeking patterns. Every single day, whether you realize it or not, you're in the middle of a war, not with anybody else. Not with your boss, your family, your past, your neighborhood, or your upbringing. You're in a war with you. The part of you that doesn't want to wake up early. The part of you that wants to take shortcuts. The part of you that scrolls for hours instead of working on your craft. The version of you that keeps whispering, I'll do it tomorrow. That version is a liar. That version is a thief. That version is the reason you haven't stepped into the life that's already been prepared for you. Most people never win because they spend all their energy trying to fix what's outside. They try to fix relationships, environments, systems, opportunities, but never confront the person in the mirror. You keep thinking the enemy is external, but the true opposition is internal. That inner voice telling you you're not good enough. That quiet sabotage that convinces you to procrastinate one more day. That self-doubt that poisons every dream with what if. That's the real enemy. Until you defeat that version of you, no new season, no new opportunity, no open door is going to save you. What's stopping you isn't lack of talent. It's the lack of self-confrontation. It's that part of you that refuses to be held accountable, that blames everyone else, that runs from responsibility when it gets hard. That weaker version of you is addicted to comfort, allergic to discipline, and afraid of growth. And every time you choose comfort over calling, every time you listen to that weaker voice, you're letting that version of you win the fight. And here's the truth. Both versions of you can't win. One of you has to die. Either the you that's full of excuses or the you that's full of purpose. Either the you that's enslaved to fear or the you that's walking in boldness. One of you is going to win. The question is, which one are you feeding? Which one are you letting lead your decisions? The version that stays stuck in the past or the one that's fighting for the future? The real battle isn't about doing more. It's about becoming more. Every act of discipline, every time you tell yourself no to distraction, every moment you choose purpose over emotion, you're weakening that false version of you. You're starving it. You're silencing its voice. And slowly the real you, the strong, focused, called, destined version starts to rise. You don't need to compete with anyone else. You were never supposed to. You just need to outwork, outthink, and outlast your old self. The only comparison that matters is who you were yesterday and whether you're willing to go to war to become who you were born to be today. This is the most important fight of your life. And it starts the moment you stop running from yourself and start conquering the version of you that's been holding you back. Detachment is often misunderstood. People think if you detach emotionally or spiritually, it means you don't care, that you're numb, cold, or indifferent. But that's not what true detachment is. Detachment, when rooted in wisdom and clarity, is the highest form of strength. It's not the absence of feeling, it's the presence of mastery. It means your emotions don't own you. It means your peace isn't up for negotiation. It means you can feel without being driven. You can love without being controlled. You can experience disappointment without being destroyed. See, most people are slaves to their emotions. They move based on how they feel, not based on what's right. They react instead of respond. They fall apart when things don't go their way. They're tossed around by every move, every comment, every high and low in life. That's not strength. That's bondage. That's living like a leaf in the wind, drifting wherever the pressure blows. But when you master detachment, you stop being reactive. You stop being ruled by every voice, every failure, every moment that doesn't go according to your plan. Detachment allows you to show up in your full power. When you're detached, you can walk into rooms without needing to be liked. You can speak the truth without needing agreement. You can move with purpose without waiting for applause. You don't chase things. You attract them. You don't beg people to stay. You bless them as they leave. Detachment means you've graduated. You're no longer living from wounds. You're living from wisdom. You can still feel, still love, still engage, but with boundaries, with awareness, with strength. You're no longer desperate to be understood. You're no longer addicted to outcomes. You've realized that peace is more valuable than attention, and your assignment is more important than temporary emotion. That's what detachment gives you. Peace and clarity. You don't cry every time someone doubts you. You don't shrink every time you fail. You don't react every time someone presses your buttons. Why? Because you've unplugged the buttons. And let me be clear. Detachment doesn't mean you stop loving people. It means you stop letting their behavior control your identity. It doesn't mean you stop feeling pain. It means you stop letting pain dictate your direction. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop carrying what doesn't belong to you. This is maturity. This is spiritual authority. It's not emotional coldness. It's emotional maturity. When you detach, you stop living from a place of survival and start living from a place of vision. You stop panicking when people change. You stop bending when life shifts. You remain still, centered, grounded, focused, because your anchor isn't in external things, it's in truth. You've decided that your mission is bigger than your mood. Your destiny is bigger than your disappointment. And your future is bigger than your feelings. That's the power of detachment. Not that you stop feeling, but that you stop being the feeling. You become the one who leads it, not the one who's led by it. Attachment is one of the most subtle but dangerous enemies of your destiny. It doesn't show up loud. It's not always obvious. It creeps in through your emotion, your desires, your need to control, your fear of letting go. You attach yourself to outcomes, to people, to timelines, to expectations, and without realizing it, you hand over your power, because the truth is, whatever you're emotionally attached to, you're also dependent on, and whatever you're dependent on controls you. That's why so many people feel stuck. It's not because they don't have opportunities. It's because they're chained to things that were never meant to define them. You're attached to someone's opinion of you. And now you're walking on eggshells. You're attached to how you thought life should have gone. And now you're angry at the path God chose. You're attached to an old version of yourself. And now every time growth knocks, you reject it out of fear. That's not freedom. That's bondage disguised as comfort. When you're emotionally attached to outcomes, you're no longer moving with faith. You're moving with control. You're trying to manipulate situations instead of trusting divine timing. And when things don't unfold the way you want it, you break, not because life is unfair, but because you placed your identity in a result instead of your purpose. That's why attachment is dangerous. It drains your power because it places your peace in things that shift, break, and walk away. Real power comes from surrender, not giving up, but letting go. Letting go of the idea that your worth is found in success. Letting go of the belief that your identity is tied to relationships. Letting go of the emotional grip you have on how the future must look. Because as long as you're clinging, you're not trusting. As long as you're forcing, you're not flowing. And as long as you're attached, you're vulnerable to being shaken. Your assignment requires clarity. It requires discipline, but it also requires detachment. You can't be fully present if part of your heart is stuck in the past or obsessing over the future. You can't execute with excellence when your mind is cluttered with what if, and I hope they approve. You're not here to be enslaved by results. You're here to walk in obedience, to trust the process, to plant the seed and leave the outcome to God. Detachment is how you reclaim your authority. When you detach from the need to control everything, you finally step into the freedom to be everything you were created to be. You start making decisions based on wisdom, not fear. You start walking in rooms with confidence, not codependency. You stop begging and start building. You stop clinging and start climbing. You were never meant to be ruled by what you have or don't have, who stays or who leaves, what happens or doesn't happen. You were meant to be ruled by vision, truth, and purpose. And when you detach from everything that seeks to own your emotions, you rise, you become unshakable, immovable, focused, and most of all, free. Purpose silences distraction. When you really know why you're here, what you're called to do, and who you're becoming, distractions lose their power. The noise fades. The opinions don't sting. The setbacks don't shake you. Because you're locked in on something deeper than emotion, stronger than circumstance, and bigger than any momentary pressure. Purpose gives your spirit a foundation. And when you're grounded in that, you don't flinch when life tries to rattle you. See, distraction only works on the mind that's not anchored If you don't have a clear why, you'll fall for every what. You'll chase everything and commit to nothing. You'll say yes to people who drain you, invest in things that deplete you, and entertain thoughts that break you. Not because you're weak, but because you're not focused. You can't win a war when you keep switching targets. And you can't fulfill a divine assignment when you're chasing every temporary desire that calls your name. When you're truly walking in purpose, there's a shift. You stop reacting to everything. You stop chasing applause. You stop needing everyone to understand you because you understand yourself. You understand what you've been called to build. You understand what season you're in. And when you have that clarity, discipline becomes natural. You don't need to be motivated to show up. You're moved by mission. You don't need permission to grow. You've already decided that average is no longer your address. And make no mistake, distraction will come. It will look like opportunity. It will sound like urgency. It will feel like comfort. That's why purpose has to be louder. When you don't know where you're going, anything can feel like progress. But when you've seen the vision, when you've committed to the process, when you've tasted destiny, compromise doesn't even appeal to you anymore. Purpose makes you selective. You don't entertain every invitation. You don't argue with every critic. You don't respond to every emotional impulse. You've got too much to lose. You've come too far to fall. You understand that one small distraction can cost you years. One unguarded moment can delay your calling. One yes to the wrong thing can detour your entire path. And when you carry that awareness, you move different. You live intentional. You guard your time. You protect your peace. You surround yourself with people who speak life, not drain it. Purpose gives you authority over your feelings. You might feel tired, but you don't quit. You might feel afraid, but you still move forward. You might feel overlooked, but you stay faithful because your decisions are no longer emotional. They're spiritual. They're rooted in assignment. That's why people who live on purpose don't need attention to be effective. They don't need validation to stay consistent. They know that obedience is louder than applause. This is why distraction doesn't have to win. Not when purpose is present. Not when you've trained your spirit to recognize what matters. Not when you've decided that your destiny is more important than your comfort. The noise doesn't need to go away. You just need to get so focused that it no longer has access to your attention. Because when purpose is your compass, everything else becomes background. Confidence isn't something you fake. It's not found in loud words, expensive clothes, or external validation. Real confidence is quiet. It's anchored. It's rooted in clarity. When you truly know who you are and why you're here, you don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to beg for affirmation. You don't have to compare, compete, or conform. You move differently when your identity is secure. And that kind of security only comes when your life is built on clarity of purpose. Too many people are searching for confidence in outcomes. They think they'll feel bold once they succeed, once they're applauded, once they're accepted. But that kind of confidence is shallow. It crumbles the moment pressure shows up. That's why people break down so easily when things go wrong. Their confidence wasn't built on truth. It was built on performance. But when your confidence comes from clarity, not results, it doesn't shake when life hits. Because you weren't standing on applause. You were standing on assignment. You have to know who you are when no one's clapping. You have to be rooted when no one's validating you. You have to be certain when the path looks uncertain. Clarity gives you that. When you understand your purpose, you stop being impressed by distractions. You stop letting people's opinions rewrite your value. You stop asking the world who you are because God already told you. And when that truth becomes real to you, fear loses its voice. Clarity gives direction. It silences confusion. It brings focus to your steps. Without it, you'll keep wandering in circles, trying things, quitting things, questioning yourself at every turn. You'll build something one day and tear it down the next, all because you weren't sure why you started. But with clarity, you don't lynch when it gets hard. You don't fold under resistance. You understand that the opposition is part of the process. You keep going, not because it feels good, but because you know what it's for. The enemy isn't just after your progress, he's after your clarity. Because if he can confuse your mind, he can paralyze your movement. He doesn't need to destroy you if he can distract you long enough to delay you. That's why you have to protect your clarity like your life depends on it. Because it does. Every moment you spend doubting yourself is a moment you're not building, not creating, not moving forward. Confidence from clarity is different. It doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't have to convince anybody. It just moves. It just shows up. It's not arrogant, but it's unshakable. You don't need to compare because you understand your lane. You don't need to compete because you're not chasing what's not yours. And you don't need to chase anything that aligns with your purpose because what's yours will recognize you when you stand in it. Clarity is the soil where confidence grows. Without it, you'll keep searching outside for something that only lives within. But when you finally get clear about who you are, who you're not, and what you're here to do, you won't just walk into rooms with confidence. You'll carry the kind of authority that shifts them. The way you respond to pain, betrayal, disappointment, and adversity exposes your level of training. Anybody can act strong when things are easy. Anybody can look focused when there's no resistance. But your reactions and pressure moments tell the truth about your preparation. When life hits, when people switch up, when plans fall apart, what comes out of you in those moments is who you really are. Not the version you show on social media. Not the one that talks about discipline. The real version. The one you've been training or not training. In silence. You don't rise to the occasion. You fall to your level of training. That's why it's not enough to talk about growth. You have to live it behind closed doors. You have to train your mind before the storm hits. You have to discipline your spirit before the betrayal comes. You have to prepare your response while things are still calm. Because when the chaos shows up, it'll be too late to build strength. You'll default to whatever you've built in secret. So many people are shocked when life gets hard. They fall under pressure and blame the situation. But pressure doesn't create your weakness. It just reveals it. It shows you the cracks. It exposes the places where your foundation wasn't built on truth. And if you're wise, you won't run from those moments. You'll learn from them. You'll let them expose what still needs healing, what still needs maturity, what still needs structure. Your reaction to pain is either rehearsed or random. If you haven't practiced stillness, you'll panic. If you haven't trained your mind to see from a higher perspective, you'll crumble under your emotions. But if you've built that discipline, if you've spent time alone with truth, if you've trained your soul to be anchored in purpose, you'll stay calm in the storm. You'll respond, not react. You'll move from intention, not impulse. That's what separates those who rise from those who get wrecked by life. Training isn't always visible. It happens in the unseen. In the early mornings when no one's watching. In the quiet prayers when you feel like giving up. In the daily decisions to keep going. Even when no one claps, that's where strength is built. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. And if you skip that part, if you ignore the quiet discipline, you'll be exposed the moment pressure finds you. You want to be great? You want to fulfill your calling? Then you got to train. Like it, you got to treat every ordinary moment like it matters, because how you do the small things will determine how you handle the big ones. When the pain comes, and it will, you don't want to be caught off guard. You want to be ready. Not just emotionally ready, but spiritually trained, mentally focused and grounded in something bigger than the moment. Your reactions aren't accidents. They are results. They come from your patterns, your habits, your spiritual training. And if you don't like how you've been reacting lately, don't just try harder next time. Go back and train. Go back and build, because the next battle is coming and your future depends on who you are when it does. Peace is not weakness. Peace is not passivity. Peace is power. Real peace is a weapon. It is spiritual armor that protects your mind, guards your decisions, and allows you to walk through the fire without being burned. When you are anchored in peace, the enemy loses access to you. The enemy thrives on chaos, on confusion, on emotional reaction. But when you choose peace, real peace, not fake smiles or suppressed frustration, you shut down the strategy of distraction and deception. Peace doesn't mean the absence of storms. It means you have trained your inner world to remain still while the outside world is falling apart. It means you're so locked in, so grounded in your purpose that what's happening around you doesn't shake what's happening within you. When others panic, you stay focused. When others retaliate, you stay composed. When others drown in offense, you remain anchored in truth. That kind of peace is not natural. It's spiritual. And it's a threat to everything that tries to control you through fear, urgency, or pressure. Some people think being at peace means you're not taking action. No, peace is what allows you to take the right action. Emotional decisions cost too much. Reactionary moves lead to regrets. But peace gives you clarity. It helps you pause and respond from wisdom instead of impulse. It helps you walk in strategy instead of survival. You don't fight fire with fire when you've mastered peace. You fight fire with alignment, with discernment, with calm obedience. And that makes you dangerous to the enemy. Because the enemy can't manipulate a person who doesn't need external validation. The enemy can't bait someone who's not hungry for drama. The enemy can't control someone who has trained their emotions to submit to purpose. When you choose peace, you become unshakable. And in a world addicted to chaos, that kind of stillness is revolutionary. It means the enemy has to work harder and harder just to try to get your attention. And even then, it doesn't work. Peace doesn't come automatically. You have to fight for it. You have to guard your mind, protect your spirit, and be intentional about what you allow in your space. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every conflict is your battle. When you're walking in purpose, you learn to let peace lead. And sometimes that means letting go of the need to be right, to be understood, or to win every argument. Sometimes peace looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like walking away. And sometimes it looks like standing firm and refusing to be moved. Peace is not passive. It's a force. It's a discipline. It's a decision. And when you live from that place, you don't get tossed around by life's ups and downs. You stay ready. You stay alert. You stay calm, and that calm becomes your covering. The world may be noisy, but your soul is still. The enemy may be roaring, but you're not afraid. You know who you are, and you know who holds your future. That's not weakness. That's authority. That's power. That's peace. Emotions are real, but they were never meant to rule you. You are not your emotions. You can feel them deeply, but you don't have to obey them blindly. That's the difference between emotional maturity and emotional slavery. Too many people confuse their feelings with their identity. They say, I feel worthless, and start to live like they are. They say, I feel angry, and begin to speak and act in ways that destroy what they've built. But just because you feel something doesn't mean it's true. And it definitely doesn't mean it should lead your life. Your emotions are indicators, not dictators. They give you signals. They show you what's going on internally, but they should never be in the driver's seat. When emotions lead, purpose takes a back seat. And when purpose is silent, chaos takes over. That's when you start making decisions you regret, burning bridges you were meant to walk on, and quitting things that were designed to grow you, not because you were weak, but because you let a temporary feeling sabotage a permanent assignment. You are more than what you feel. Feelings come and go. They rise and fall. They change based on sleep, environment, food, relationships, weather, pressure. So why would you anchor your destiny to something that's unstable? That's like trying to build a house on moving sand. The storm will come and everything will collapse. But when you recognize that emotions are visitors, not residents, you stop letting them move in and rearrange your foundation. You can feel sadness without drowning in it. You can feel anger without letting it poison your voice. You can feel fear without letting it paralyze your faith. The power is in recognizing the emotion, naming it, and then choosing your response based on truth, not on that wave of feeling. It's not about suppressing your emotions. It's about mastering them. Suppression leads to explosion. Mastery leads to peace. Mastery doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you feel fully. And then respond wisely. You can cry and still keep moving. You can hurt and still honor your assignment. You can be disappointed and still be disciplined This is what maturity looks like. It's when you stop saying, I'm not in the mood, and start saying, I have a mission. It's when you stop giving feelings the power to decide your destiny. A lot of people aren't failing because of a lack of skill or opportunity. They're failing because they haven't trained their emotions. They don't know how to sit with discomfort. They don't know how to walk through pain without becoming it. They don't know how to say no to what feels good now in order to stay faithful to what leads to greatness later. But once you learn that emotions are tools, not truths, you stop fearing them. You start using them. You learn from them, but you don't let them define you. You are not anger. You are not fear. You are not sadness. You are not shame. You are a soul with power, purpose, and identity far beyond emotion. And when you finally take back control, your life begins to align not with how you feel, but with who you truly are. 2 and 2. Elevation demands separation. You cannot rise while remaining entangled. Growth doesn't happen in noise, in clutter, or in environments that constantly pull you back into who you used to be. Spiritual solitude is not loneliness. It's alignment. It's in solitude where clarity is born. It's in solitude where strength is developed. You can't grow if you're always surrounded by distraction. You can't evolve if you're constantly trying to maintain connections that no longer match your calling. Some people are afraid to be alone, but elevation requires it. Not isolation from love, but separation from chaos. When God is trying to take you to a higher level, he often removes the familiar. He strips away the crutches, not to hurt you, but to reveal what you've been dependent on. You thought you needed certain people. You thought you needed their approval, their presence, their understanding. But God is showing you that all you really need is his voice and your obedience. And it's in solitude where that voice becomes loudest. When your life is noisy, it's hard to hear direction. When you're constantly responding to texts, calls, posts, and opinions, you start losing touch with your own inner voice. You become reactive, scattered, drained. You don't have time to reflect, to heal, to receive. That's why solitude is essential. It creates space. Space for truth to surface. Space for wounds to be exposed and transformed. Space for new revelation to land in your spirit. You won't hear your next instruction in the crowd. You won't receive your next breakthrough while being emotionally entangled with people who don't value where you're going. Growth demands detachment, not detachment from love, but from anything that delays your purpose. If it clouds your vision, if it steals your energy, if it interrupts your peace, it's not helping you grow. It's holding you hostage. The people around you might not understand this season. They might call you distant. They might not recognize the new discipline you're walking in, but they weren't assigned your vision. They weren't called to your mountain. And you can't carry everyone with you if you're climbing. Some people are part of your history, not your destiny. And if you don't know when to let go, you'll delay what's meant to launch. Solitude is where giants are trained. It's where you become unshakable. It's where you learn to listen, not to noise, but to truth. It's where you realize your worth isn't tied to who checks in on you. Your value isn't based on how many people are around. In the silence, you find your core. You remember your why. You get back to your foundation. And when you come out of that solitude, you don't just come out healed. You come out transformed, prepared, elevated. The next version of you will not be built in comfort. It will be built in quiet, in focused, intentional, spiritual solitude. You don't need more noise. You need more stillness, because it's in the stillness that destiny speaks. And only those who are willing to detach from distractions will be able to hear it clearly. Discipline is not punishment. It's freedom. Most people run from discipline because they think it restricts them, when in reality, it's the only thing that liberates them. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you're called to be. Without it, you stay bound. Bound to emotions, bound to impulses, bound to fear. But with discipline, you take control. You rise above how you feel. You stop negotiating with excuses. You begin to lead your life instead of being led by it. Emotional discipline is what keeps your purpose from being hijacked by temporary feelings. You can be talented, gifted, even anointed, But if you're undisciplined emotionally, your potential will always be limited. Because no matter how high you're calling, you won't rise above your level of discipline. You can't stay focused if you keep reacting to everything that moves you emotionally. Every offense, every insult, every doubt, it'll all derail you if you haven't trained yourself to stay steady. Discipline says, I'm not doing what feels good. I'm doing what's right. It means you don't need a move to move. You don't need inspiration to execute. You show up because your assignment demands it. You pray when you don't feel like praying. You stay silent when your emotions want to argue. You hold your peace when your pride wants to clap back. That's strength. That's power. That's maturity. Most people think freedom is doing whatever you want, whenever you want. But that's not freedom. That's chaos. Real freedom is having the power to say no to what weakens you and yes to what builds you. And that power only comes through discipline. Discipline allows you to walk in integrity even when no one's watching. It gives you the focus to keep building when no one's clapping. It trains you to keep going when everything in you wants to quit. You don't wake up great. You train yourself there. Every choice you make, every thought you take captive, every emotion you refuse to let lead you. That's how greatness is built. It's not in the big moments. It's in the quiet, consistent, daily decisions. That's where freedom is forged. You get free from anxiety when you discipline your mind to dwell on truth. You get free from emotional sabotage when you stop giving your feelings the final word. You get free from mediocrity when you commit to doing the work even when it's uncomfortable. You were never meant to live reactionary. You were called to live rooted. And that kind of life only grows through discipline. Discipline teaches your soul how to wait, how to stand, how to walk in purpose when the feelings fade. It strengthens your spirit until it leads your flesh. It sharpens your focus until distractions lose their grip. And it elevates your life until freedom is no longer a moment. It's your mindset. The more disciplined you become emotionally, the less you'll be controlled by what's temporary. You won't just survive, you'll thrive. You won't just endure, you'll lead. Because discipline doesn't make you smaller. It reveals how powerful you truly are. Let me leave you with this. The greatest war you will ever fight is not out there, it's in here. It's not against haters, circumstances, or setbacks. It's against the version of you that wants to stay comfortable, emotional, reactive, and small. Every day you wake up to a decision where you serve your feelings or where you serve your future, where you stay chained to who you were or where you rise into who you're becoming. You got too much purpose to be ruled by emotion, too much destiny to be distracted by temporary battles, too much calling to be driven by how you feel. This life isn't about proving anything to anyone else. It's about conquering yourself. Because once you win that fight, once you beat the fear, the doubt, the pride, the procrastination, everything else will fall into place. You are the only thing standing between the life you have and the life you were born to live. Not your background, not your haters, not your past, just you. And the world is waiting on the version of you that's bold enough to silence the noise, shut down the excuses, detach from the chaos, and lead with truth. So decide, not tomorrow, now. This is you versus you. And only one version gets to win. Choose the one that walks in power. Choose the one that walks in purpose. Choose the one that's done bowing to feelings and ready to rise with focus. It's time to evolve. It's time to grow. It's time to win.